All right, we are live. I'm Killian, also known as Low Luxury on this gosh forsaken website. Christian, welcome.
Hi, I'm Christian, also known as Mr. Brave New Wear on this gosh forsaken website. And I would like to welcome everybody to episode 2 of The Bias Cut. It's the podcast hosted by two absolute losers talking about everything from high fashion to low fashion to the ever elusive mid fashion, the mids. Confirm or deny, Killian? Is that true?
Confirm. That's absolutely what it is. Yeah,
Okay, cool.
all of the above. Uh,
How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. I have had a hellscape of a week. I've got to be honest with you. But today I rolled into work. It was a big day, and I was wearing these like fuzzy Uniqlo pants,
Sick.
like felted, and I was wearing these like glittery Guidi boots. They were like
Ooh.
made me like 4 inches taller, and I felt strong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just need to feel strong sometimes, right?
Straight up. I totally agree with that. Killian, I'm gonna put you on the spot. Are you a tall man?
No, I'm extremely average, 5'10". How about
Okay.
yourself? I actually don't know this.
Okay. If there is anybody watching, I want to know in the comments down below, what height do you think I am?
Oh, that's
Who
a
do we got?
fantastic question.
Come on. We got blanks on. We got Kyle Ackerman. We've got Principal Skinner. And for anybody who is listening to this podcast in its audio form, you should know that we stream this live every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the godforsaken website called YouTube.
Yeah.
So, I hope you listen, but if you're here too, you get to get involved. You get to some extra action. It
You could
looks
be
like
on the
none of
pod.
our watchers
Have a guess.
have any interest in guessing my
Although
height.
I will say, while if anybody has a guess, we'll give them an extra second about your height. I just
Okay.
want to appreciate Principal Skinner for subscribing to a channel called The Bias Cut. Missed the
Sick.
ED on the name, you know.
Yeah. Classic mix up, Skinner.
Oh, we got one. Now we gotta get an
Okay.
over under. Is it over or under, Christian?
It looks like I just guessed
You
3
did guess.
foot.
No,
How the
I think
hell?
you guessed 3 inches actually.
I think I know what's happening. I think I've been hacked and I'm being doxxed. So
Oh.
Principal Skinner gets 5'7". Kyra Ackerman gets 5'8".
So I would have guessed like 6'1". You're a lanky boy, you know?
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah.
Hell
I
yeah.
love that for me.
Yeah.
And this is a great way to start an audio format. Everyone just guessing what the
The
voice, the height
mystery
of the
man's
voice.
height. Yeah.
Yeah. My height is yes, Kyle's closest actually.
Yeah.
Because I'm about 275 pounds, full muscle, 6'9". I'm like LeBron James, essentially. That's my physique. For anybody just listening, imagine like the white LeBron James. I am 5'8". Wah wah.
But still in that average range. You know what I mean? You're in
I mean,
there.
it doesn't even matter. Like honestly, it doesn't matter when your penis is like also 5 feet long. So that's
No,
my take on it.
I thought that was your 3 inches guess.
Yeah. But the reason I brought it up, I guess, is just fashion has a way. If you're like,
Yeah.
if you like fashion, you end up wearing a lot of boots and they make you taller. You end up wearing kiss boots and
Damn
you're
right.
already taller. I wish I was Marco Rubio in 2016. I don't even know what the hell. When Donald Trump was making fun of him for wearing boots. Because my response would have been like, hell yeah, I am. I'm dripped out. Look at how you look. I'd rather be, look sick than look like a weird fat guy.
Here's the one thing I'll say on that note. Do you ever get anything that was clearly made for somebody that is like 6'7" from like a luxury brand or whatever? Because the sizing lengthwise can sometimes be insane.
I mean, I know I know like there are brands that will be like, listen, I can't afford to do multiple SKUs. It's only one pair of
Mhm.
pants, and you're gonna have to hem them. Um, but I don't think. I mean, I'm always buying clothes for my height, I guess. But to begin this podcast with like some
Mhm.
positivity, it
Yeah,
really doesn't matter, guys, because there are men who are
true.
shorter than me. You know,
Yeah, and,
you
like,
can still be
for
dripped
them,
out.
you can just keep going down the line. There's gonna be somebody smaller than them as well until
Hmm.
eventually there's one guy, and we just don't talk about him,
Well, his
you
name
know?
is Peter Dinklage, and it doesn't hurt to be that guy.
Rude. It
Well,
doesn't. No,
he's
he
not
made it
tall.
work for himself, right. Uh,
Um,
do you wanna talk about some goings on? Some big
sure.
happenings in the world?
Did something happen in fashion news? I wasn't
Fashion news.
paying
I was
attention.
I was gonna talk about the train derailment, but I mean, I guess if you wanna
Oh,
talk about fashion, um, yeah, so there's
like
this
the legend of the Phoenix.
we're off the rails
Something ends
already,
with
pun intended.
beginnings.
Um, Louis Vuitton,
Yeah, LV.
LV, Louis V, that's you.
Mhm.
They've got a new artistic director, is that the title that they use? Creative
The
director,
creative director.
overseer of menswear,
Uh-huh. Who
and
is he?
it's Pharrell.
Pharrell who? I know a
Farrell.
lot of Pharrells.
There's a lot of Pharrells, but there's one that doesn't even need a last name, so it must be that one because in the news they were only saying Pharrell. They didn't even say a last name. So
So
you
you're
know,
telling me Pharrell Williams, the, iconic musician
mhm,
behind Blurred Lines,
mhm.
is the new creative director of Louis Vuitton Men's?
He sure is,
That's
and I
crazy.
feel like this opens up a whole bunch of avenues for us. We could go anywhere, but maybe we need a little primer here on the brand up to this point, the recent past. Do you have any thoughts on this? Is there anything the listeners need to know to get up to speed here?
Yeah, straight up.
Okay.
So like in the early 2000s, Louis Vuitton was looking at its brand and was saying, all we do is sell bags. Should we do something different?
Mhm, mhm,
Because as something I've talked about a million times, so it's on the internet, is that essentially a lot of luxury brands make clothes as window dressing to sell the accessories. And
mhm.
Louis Vuitton, for decades, for centuries, just sold the accessories. They just sold the bags. And they had a crazy ass idea. And they said, what if we start designing clothes? And with the same intention, they wanted to create an atmosphere, a lifestyle, an image of Louis Vuitton as a luxury fashion house that made it more desirable to purchase those Neverfulls that every Starbucks mom loves.
Damn right.
And at that time, they were looking around. And they said, "You know who's a hot designer? Marc Jacobs. Do him." So Marc Jacobs was hired in like 2000, 2001, I forget, as the first creative director for like the fashion of Louis Vuitton.
Mhm.
He killed it.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if there was somebody in between him, but then it was Nikolai Gesquier
Mhm,
is the women's, and he still
mhm.
is. It was Kim Jones as the
Yep.
men's director for a long time. I I I I have some hot takes about Kim Jones, but I think
We'll
that
get there, right?
yeah, I think that that was his best time as a
Sure.
designer was at Louis Vuitton men's, and then there was this little known angel who we've lost, named
Mhm.
Virgil Abloh, who was the creative director for Men's Louis Vuitton. And
Truth.
unfortunately, and I mean this earnestly, unfortunately, he had a very rare cancer of the heart and he passed away. So there
Yeah.
was an absence, there was a big void in this like spot. And I'll stop talking so you can stop talk, Killian, in a
So,
second.
I
In a
think you actually
second.
you
No, I'm
picked
sorry. Go ahead.
whoa, 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 whoa. I thought equal time here. It's like
Equal
a
rights.
presidential campaign where they have to give each of them a
Yeah,
certain amount of set time to make their case here. But no, I
yeah.
I think you stopped at an apt point because I do want to pause here and talk about uh Louis Vuitton under Virgil Abloh. because it was a weird time. And uh, after he passed, things went as they do, which is everyone kind of gets the rosiest picture of that person and their work and all that stuff. But at the time, there was a lot of hand wringing, a lot of whining, rightly or wrongly, about both the appointment of Abloh to start off with and just reactions to his work more generally in his time at the house. And I'm curious where you land here. If we set aside the fact that he was an incredibly important person in fashion, that it's sad that he's not around anymore, in all honesty, where are you at on Abloh?
Well, kind of similar to Kim Jones. I think his work at Louis Vuitton was his best work.
True.
I think that, I mean, honestly, I did think that a lot of those pieces were sick as hell. And I think that there's a lot of, sometimes when there's discussion about like high fashion, there's like a lot of like pretentious talk about like, oh, this is this or this is that, yada yada yada. I think there are a lot of pieces that were sick as hell. And keeping in mind, because of Louis Vuitton, kind of how they structure the brand, all of the pieces are like S tier in terms of quality, like
Yeah.
above like Balenciaga, above like Prada. They just make them ludicrously nice and extraordinarily expensive. So like the pieces were incredible.
Yeah, it's like that. It's at that tier. I feel like at the very, very top is like Hermes or whatever,
Yeah.
and then just right below that, you've got a lot of the Louis Vuitton stuff.
What I think, honestly, I think that when they were decided to make clothes, I imagine they specifically were shooting for like Hermes levels,
Sure.
Hermes, because their prices like are similar. It's like $3,000 for a pair of jeans,
Yeah.
and if you ever see them IRL, it's like it's the nicest clothes you ever did see. But like I said, they make the clothes to sell the bags. That's the point.
Yeah. And
Never liked. Oh, we got something. Majora
I was
said
just gonna say,
something.
I'm a Majora Market. Never liked Off-White much. Think Virgil's LV was his best too. I think we're all in agreement there that he
Agreed.
stepped up to the gig. You
Yeah,
can say whatever you want about Off-White or God forbid, like Ben Trill or whatever before
I
that,
will.
and we
Pyrex
will,
Vision, more like. Let's talk about
but
Pyrex Vision.
please.
Uh,
But he stepped into it, and I mean, there was, of course, always stuff that he was doing that I would kind of cringe at, but there were always some like legitimate jaw droppers in there
yeah.
that I didn't know he had in him before he started there, honestly.
Yeah, and I will point out what it has been said. Like Virgil, it seems would get DMs from young artists and creators, and then whoopsie daisy, those designs got
Mhm.
stolen.
Oh yeah.
And I did make a video, I guess 2 years ago, talking about the collection that was awfully very similar to what's his name, Bernardonk's, like a collection he did.
Mhm.
So check out Brave New Wear. Look for that video. I
I
think
will
that
say on Low Luxury channel, there's also a similar thing. I did a full breakdown of all the like uh, at at the time claims of plagiarism against him and kind of looked into them. And it's
yeah,
weird because I think we can both have a feather in our cap there because it's not really the type of video that anyone's clamoring to make these days. So it is kind of a testament, a product of its time. You know what I
it
mean?
really is.
Yeah.
But I always try to be like devil's advocate about that kind of thing
Yeah.
because like the one of the first videos I ever made was talking about Virgil, and I was specifically talking about what does he do well, because there was a reason before even Louis Vuitton at Off White that he was so hot. And
Mhm.
I recount basically a situation where his like assistant emailed me and they were trying to get like this beautiful like Dior Homme coat. And for what it's worth, anybody I know who has interacted with Virgil, he was an
Mhm.
extremely nice person, very, and gave his time freely. So
Yeah, that's the one thing
rip.
when he passed, of course, I made a video about it, and I remember, like, almost embarrassingly now, looking back on it, like, I teared up at the end, and the thing that made me tear up was, thinking of all the up-and-coming designers that would not have him there to lift them up in the future. Because it was one thing he was legitimately very good at was giving himself to people, seemingly, you know.
Yeah. And I never made a video talking about my thoughts, but one thing I think two things. I think that there is a void in the fashion space of who the next Virgil will be, i.e., or like
Hmm.
basically who's going to be the next kind of trans dimensional, no, like what's the right word? Trans genre
Yeah,
designer,
yeah,
artist, person who it was like Virgil, because I think that there's an absence there. And the
for
second part
sure.
of it is love it or hate him. I think that the fact that he died so young means we'll never know how he would have progressed as a designer, artist, whatever you call him. We would have
Sure.
never known if he would have reached higher heights or completely bombed and become like a laughing stock. And that's something that we'll miss out on. And that is kind of where we were left at. Louis
Yeah.
Vuitton had a very buzzworthy designer
Hmm.
as the creative director, and they picked Virgil in part because Off White was white hot
Yeah.
in high fashion. It sold like crazy, and they
Hmm.
wanted somebody with that kind of stature. And back in the day, Kanye was only like, he wasn't even a Nazi yet. So it was
True.
cool. It was cool that he knew Kanye. And and then when the world needed him the most, he was gone. And just this Valentine's Day, 2 days ago,
Hmm.
we got a love letter from LV saying that they
Yes.
are appointing, I was going to say, Pharrell Williams
Yes.
as the new creative director. And that's
So
like pick.
it's extremely hot in like the very precise meaning of that word. Like it's causing heat. It's intended to be heat worthy, to light up feeds, right? Because it's honestly very similar to if they had, I feel like, picked Kanye West to be their creative director when they initially picked Virgil, because it
Yeah.
was apparently legitimately being talked about or thought about by people at the time. And it seems like this time they came back around and were like, yeah, let's try that, but not with Kanye West. You know
Mhm.
what I mean?
Yeah. The Louis Vuitton Don. They said, too close to
Mm-mm.
home.
Mm-mm.
But what's just like, even on that topic, what is
Mhm.
kind of interesting about Pharrell is that he's kind of like the fashion hip hop artist,
Sure.
because if you look at Kanye, Tyler, the creator, another
Mhm.
person, another person, you look at all these musicians in hip hop who are big, who are now known for like their trend setting, for their style, for et cetera,
Yep.
et cetera. They almost all of them cite Pharrell as being one of their biggest influences because he was
Yeah.
on the scene, kind of pushing the boundaries of what a hip hop artist looks like, dresses like, before everyone else. So it's interesting to think about, like, well, LV wanted Kanye
Mhm.
originally in some ways, and the Kanye is Pharrell, kind of. So I guess
Absolutely.
they got right to it. And Blanks, yeah, just commented, and I want to build on it.
Yeah.
I think Pharrell is one of the best tastemakers. Period.
Period.
And that is kind of the crux of, I guess, what we're all talking about today, because
Yeah.
it's like Pharrell undoubtedly is an artist. He's
Mhm.
a producer. He's a performer. And he, Billionaire Boys Club is a real brand that he
Yep.
is responsible for. But is he a designer or is he a tastemaker? What is he? Does it matter? That's kind of that.
I don't think it matters, but the thing is that the fact that it doesn't matter is kind of sad. And there may just be a little bit of lamenting in this. I don't know if you will be joining me in that, but there is to me. And I think he is not a designer and he never will be, but he's also not claiming to be, right? I
Yeah.
have to assume that he's going to be stepping into the role of a curator, essentially. I saw somebody, I can't credit them, I don't remember at all, but I'll just steal their thought. They were online saying they assume it's going to be kind of like what Kim Jones has been doing recently at Dior, where
Yeah.
it's this kind of picking the cool people. He's looking around, being like, that person's doing cool stuff. Let's bring them up. Let's give them a guest collection, a collaborative thing. I would not be surprised at all to see Pharrell really leaning on that kind of formula, because honestly, I'm not sure what other formula he might have, right?
Yeah. And I think that that's kind of a big part of the discussion today because
Mm-hmm.
frankly, I think that that was a lot of what Virgil did. Do you think Pharrell was the first? We got another comment on the screen. Do you think Pharrell was the first choice, or did some people turn them down first? Asked Kyle Ackerman. Um, well, I think this. I think
Mm-hmm.
most people, like in the world of fashion designers, there are some positions that are like the most coveted. And
Mm-hmm.
those positions are typically considered like creative director of Chanel, creative director of Dior, and recently Louis Vuitton has taken that, like that it is one of the most coveted
Yeah.
positions in fashion because it's one of the biggest brands. It is one of the oldest. I think I remember an interview Nikolai Gesquier gave a few years ago where he was talking about that topic itself. Like he was saying, like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm in one of the most desired positions and life is good. So
Yeah.
I think to answer Kyle's question or his like thought experiment, um, I don't know because my thinking is that if you were a big designer and you were offered that role,
Mm-hmm.
there's you would almost certainly want to jump on it. It
Yeah.
is the it's like it being president. You know, if you're a politician and you have the opportunity to be president of the United States, it's like the last and the best job.
It's the
So
end of the line.
it's
Yeah.
the end of the line in a lot of ways. But I'm not saying that that's not possible. I'm sure, like, let's say they offered it to Rick Owens.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Rick would have said, I don't want to do that. That's not going to be my vibe.
Yeah.
And that job is so much work that,
Mm-hmm.
um, I'll never be able to see Michelle and we'll never be able to, love each
Dude,
other.
hang
Um,
out hang out in on the beach doing push-ups or whatever he
Yeah, or
does,
whatever,
right?
or whatever. Well, just on the subject of push-ups, and I apologize
Mhm.
to everybody on earth that I have to bring it up.
I'm scared. Go,
I
go.
I know it looks like there's something wrong with my body, the sweating. Maybe we'll talk about my sweating problem later. Just know
Okay.
that I'm not dying. For anybody listening to the podcast, I'm wearing my normal ass t-shirt, but it looks like I'm sweating profusely. That's just how much sweat my body produces. Um
Is it performance sweats or all the time,
I
all
mean, this is
day?
like all the time. That's my point.
Okay.
It's like I don't want you
Yeah.
to think like, "Ooh, I'm nervous." I'm not nervous. I
So,
just
okay.
my body's embarrassing. So, um,
I do wanna touch on this because I don't know how involved you were in the past, you know, however long it's been that they've been bandying about all these different names for LV. I don't know if you've been keeping up with it, but there were names that were constantly being talked about, having stories written about the short list, and Pharrell was not on those.
yeah,
I will say it seemed like leading up to this moment we're at here, it had been narrowed down to two that you were seeing everywhere, 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 and that was Martine Rose and Grace Wales Bonner.
really.
Yes,
I
those
I wasn't paying enough attention. Those
those
are
were the
two
two.
cool like picks if they happened because that's I feel like those are two designers who are maybe more influential than they get credit for and
Oh
not
yeah,
highlighted enough. So
Martine Rose is, I would say, at least 40% responsemble for Demna's Balenciaga
I
and that
was gonna
entire
say the same
aesthetic.
thing. I was gonna say
Yeah.
that's the Demna in a
Mhm.
lot of not to take anything away from Demna,
No, not at
but
all.
definitely like huge influence on that. But I think that ultimately, I mean, like it feels a lot like the Virgil appointment. Louis Vuitton
Mhm.
loves money. They love money. And in a lot of ways, they know that the clothes aren't going to matter. The clothes aren't going to be.
Yeah,
They're not going to break even. It's
if I
just
wanna
about
put
buzz.
on if I wanna put on my bad faith hat for a second, which I'm going to,
Hmm.
because I want to, maybe that's why I'm lamenting a little bit, because I would have liked to see what either of them could do
Yeah.
with that kind of money and that kind of atelier and all that. And also, I find it a little bit convenient that the final names were up and coming women of color that were giving a really nice aura around the idea of either of
Mhm.
them ending up with that job. And then it goes to Pharrell, you
Goes
know?
to another black man.
I know.
When it could have gone to a
Mm.
white man. But I think you're right, Killian. It's like they were just like they were naming anybody who could get them a little bit of clout.
Yeah,
Like they
right.
were like Greta Thunberg, or that one, or Mother Teresa, or and then they're like,
Mhm,
nah.
mhm. And then Dolce
Um,
& Gabbana's like, "We'll take Andrew Tate."
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. In the designer draft, Dolce and
Mhm,
Gabbana's like,
mhm.
I would love that.
Yeah.
Um, they're kind of weird.
Yeah.
But so like to kind of circle back, I think in my brain, like I don't think Martine Rose or Bonner turned down the role. I think that
Yeah.
my guess is if they were offered it, even like facing the challenge and everything, I think either of those designers would be like, yes, I will be the president of the United States. I will take this role because it's a
Yeah.
massive role.
I have to assume, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised at all if they were literally, like, behind the scenes treating it like an Oscar campaign,
Yeah,
going and shaking hands and stuff, like, that's how big of a deal it
totally,
would be
totally.
to get that gig.
Yes, and I agree with that. And I think that fundamentally, one of the things that we should, I mean, like a thing that we can appreciate about this type of role as creative
Mhm.
director, and we might get to another article about the subject with this
Yeah.
topic, but
Do it.
it is it's about being a director, and probably a lot more than it is about being a talented designer of like a pattern maker, a tailor, a seamstress, etc., etc. I think that those skills, while extraordinarily relevant and obviously usually like the stepping stones, no, you can't even get to the article. You need to
Oh,
log
come
in.
on now. Well, we get a headline, right?
Yeah. Those so like obviously those have been the traditional paths to becoming a creative director, but clearly to some extent it either isn't as relevant or it's not necessary. I mean, like thinking of jobs that I've been in where there have been creative directors, they aren't literally the people with the photography, shooting the pictures. They're not
Yeah.
literally the people. Like I specifically remember a job I had where we had a big designer and they wanted to make it clear, like they wanted me to be able to express that they're the creative director, they're not the designer. They're not responsible
Huh,
for the designs
interesting.
because their job includes everything. It includes looking at every marketing blast. It
Mhm.
includes looking at like choosing models and then choosing location and then
Yeah.
like thinking about like what are the signage going to look like in store and like what are the like mannequins going to look like.
I
So
will
like
say, I found that super eye-opening. If anybody watching somehow hasn't seen this, the Raf Simons Dior documentary showed that really well.
yeah,
Like, he is the creative director, the head of everything, and he was sitting behind a desk a lot of the time, just approving or denying various things, really.
yeah, just like Caesar, here we go, like
Yeah.
thumbs up or thumbs down.
Mhm.
Um and I think that makes it's an interesting perspective on the job. I don't think
Mhm.
that makes it bad because, for one, I'm still holding out hope that one day they'll offer me the creative director role of Louis
Yeah.
Vuitton.
Keep
And
buttering them up. Yeah.
if I keep buttering them up, and if the requirement is that I have to be a lifelong designer of clothes, then I'm never going to get the job. But if I could just somehow become famous enough,
Mhm.
maybe I could. But my point is this. I don't think it necessarily is a bad thing. And I think this
Yeah.
is what Virgil did very well. Is connecting creative people who have the skills and the capacity and the enthusiasm to these different roles, because a creative director is essentially a boss and a boss has to delegate work. The creative director is not going to be designing every, all 200 garments in a collection. Instead, they are going to be reviewing things and making decisions on the entirety of it. And I
Yeah.
think that is what they're hoping or asking Pharrell to do at Louis Vuitton. And I do think that Pharrell he is a iconic tastemaker. I think that he definitely has the accolades in terms of being fashionable, and
Yeah.
he has run, he's responsible for a fashion brand. He has been around fashion
True.
for years. I am curious because, like, thinking about Pharrell,
Yep.
he still produces music. Like, he's produced and performed in music recently. I still
Yeah.
think of him primarily as a musician. I wonder to what extent he will be able to be the kind of ringleader, the orchestrator of a massive production like this. Maybe, he's like 50, even though he looks like he's 40.
Wild. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Damn, black don't crack, they say. But but Pharrell is on another level. That guy looks so good. But I mean, my point is this: he has been in creative field for years. He probably knows a lot of this stuff. He probably has a lot of experience with like how these things are orchestrated. But I am earnestly curious if he has those, like, that level of chops of being able to direct one of the hugest brands.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah.
That actually is disappointing to me. I'm a bit upset that Nigo is preoccupied.
Okay.
Because
With
I would
what?
be incredibly with Kenzo.
Oh, you know what? Let me text him.
Yeah, call him up.
Yeah.
So I think that
Konnichiwa.
that would be incredibly interesting. Nigo already did the collaborative human-made stuff with Virgil for Louis Vuitton, and
obviously Billionaire Boys Club was a joint effort between
Yes.
Pharrell and Migo, or
and
Nigo.
Yeah, and I have been honestly super, super impressed with what Nigo has done over at Kenzo. He's turned that ship around, and it was the Titanic essentially, as far as I was concerned.
Yeah.
And he's been doing some really impressive stuff, and I would like to see him again get that platform, that budget, and it leaves me wondering. I think that has historically been Pharrell's maybe richest collaborator in terms of what they've been able to mine together. And it leaves me curious, who does Pharrell bring on? What does Pharrell's Louis Vuitton look like? Is there any way to know that at this point?
I've got 2 words for you.
Please.
Big hats. Huge
Big
ones.
hats.
Tall. Like, the first show, you're going to see a model walk through with a hat that is like 20 feet tall.
Here's the thing is, I would bet on it, actually, legitimately. I would put money on it. Yeah, that's fair. Totally fair.
You might be right.
Big hats, round glasses.
Yeah.
That's what's coming.
Yeah. And I don't know if everybody knows this, but it's been said that how producers have their own tag, like put Christian on the beat, stuff like that.
Yep.
Pharrell's tag is like a secret tag where he does like almost all the songs that he produces. Like, think about like Milkshakes. It goes like dun 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 dun, dun. Like, it's like a 3 like fake start. Like almost all of the songs he produces is like a fake start 3 times. That's how the first show is gonna start. The model's gonna walk in, like, somehow reverse, and then walk in and reverse, walk in, reverse. So in a huge hat.
In a big hat. Maybe that's what the false start will be, like a trip on the lip of the hat.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
Get started again. You know what I mean?
And then they do like a somersault. It's like Willy Wonka in the original movie. He pretends to trip and then he stands up.
We're gonna have to circle back on this when the first collection comes out, 2024, because that's how the calendar works at this point. We're gonna have to figure out. We're gonna have to look at these hats. on the
Shots in
show.
the dark. I think that his collection is going to be reminiscent of Virgil's, just in
Yeah.
some ways. Maybe because Virgil's aesthetic is influenced by Pharrell's
Mhm.
like long aesthetic. I think that it's going to be bright. It's going to be brightly colored. I think it's going to have both hip hop, streetwear, and
Mhm.
like luxury tailored aesthetics in the same way that Virgil kind of integrated.
Mhm.
I think it will. I think it's undeniably going to be musically influenced in the same way Virgil's was.
Oh, yeah.
I think there's my shot in the dark is that I think there's like you put good money on. There's probably going to be it's going to look distinct and different, but it's
Yeah.
almost certainly going to be reminiscent of what Virgil was doing.
Here's one more thing. On top of the big hats, I'm gonna throw one more bold bet out there.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised to see Louis Vuitton add a new vertical to themselves, which is like super high end jewelry,
Oh, like fine jewelry,
fine jewelry.
straight up for sure. I'm
Because I'm
surprised
just
they don't even
thinking
have that
about,
yet.
I don't know if you saw that auction that Pharrell did of a lot of his jewelry and stuff. He's a connoisseur of
Mhm.
this stuff. Very fun too. Again, going back to the Virgil days of like the fun bags, the conceptual accessories and things like that. If I were to bring Pharrell in, I think it was a no-brainer to bring a fine jeweler in too and just blow the roof off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Blanks just commented, "I want to see some 2000 big chains if he comes in." I kind of do too. I think that would be fun.
Yeah.
And I'm honestly like I'm thinking about it. It's like why doesn't Louis Vuitton already do fine jewelry? And for
Yeah.
watchers and listeners alike, to kind of put things into context, jewelry from Chanel, from Louis Vuitton right now, from Celine, from name your favorite high fashion brand, the
Mhm.
jewelry that they typically produce will be called or considered fashion jewelry or even costume jewelry. And what
Mhm.
that usually means is that it can be made out of a fine material, like usually like a sterling silver, or it could be gold plated, et cetera, et cetera. But there is a
Yeah.
distinction between that and what is considered fine jewelry, which
Mhm.
is usually the price it jumps significantly,
Significantly. Yeah.
and it will be made out of things like platinum or like 24 karat gold. It will be pieces that are the materials are just the types of things that you wouldn't typically use to make a fashion piece
Yeah.
because
And
they are expected to be like timeless.
I would challenge people to like go on Essence and look through the fashion jewelry, the designer jewelry that you can find readily available. Um, it's a lot of like silver tone metal
Yeah,
is what this stuff is made out of. It's
and
it's kind
that's
of wild, honestly.
and you know, I mean, it can hit or miss depending on the designer. It doesn't
Mhm.
mean that it's straight trash,
No, no,
but
not at all.
it almost always is because it's made out of because like those are considered two distinct kind of genres of jewelry. Of like fine jewelry is totally different than fashion jewelry. An example, my love interest Caroline, she has a vintage Chanel necklace that her grandmother gave her. It's
Oh,
decades old.
damn.
And it's like I said, it's decades old. It still is looks young as the day it was born, but it's not made out of gold. It's just gold colored.
Hmm.
And that kind of thing is still valuable. You know, it's still
Yeah.
really cool, and it will probably always be valuable. But it's not valuable because if we melted that down, we could
Right, right.
make some gold fillings for all of our teeth.
So I just want to say, Blank says, I used to work in the studio at Essence. Save that thought.
Yeah,
At
save
the
that
end,
thought.
we want to talk about that. We want to hear all about this.
Because
Uh,
blank, I'm currently looking for work. If you could submit my resume to Essence, that would be great. I'm willing to move to Montreal.
ooh, that'd be nice.
Uh,
Montreal, yeah, get up
yeah, Shea
there.
Hart, Montreal.
Mhm.
JK guys, but not JK. We'll be flashing my resume at the end of this video. Um,
So I think talking about Pharrell and Louis Vuitton, leads us to a good point to get into our segment for the week. Take a few minutes on this. Every episode, we've got a segment thinking about some higher concept area of fashion and clothing and things. And this week, what we wanted to do is do the fashion doomsday clock. If y'all don't know, there's this concept of the doomsday clock. A bunch of important people essentially figure out how close we are to the world ending. You know, if it's 11:59 p.m., that means a nuclear bomb's on the way imminently. So we want to do the same. We want to kind of put our finger on the pulse here and just check in with each other and you all and figure out how we're feeling about the state of fashion, of clothing, of our place within it. And I think Pharrell gives us an interesting opportunity to do that. I think we've landed at a similar place, which is there's reasons to be a bit bummed about this, but there's also reasons to be optimistic and curious about the appointment of Pharrell. But Christian, let me open this out a bit more, including that or aside from that. How were we feeling? What time is it
Dun,
on the
dun,
fashion doomsday clock?
dun, dun. Oh no. Well, I mean, the part of it I was thinking about was, and we flashed this article on the screen for a second. It's from the Washington Post, and it's something. The magic of fashion is gone because Pharrell Williams was appointed the new creative director. Yeah, Louis Vuitton, Pharrell Williams, and the loss of fashion magic. Everybody in fashion who's trying to use their magic right now, it's like, my magic, it's gone. And maybe that's a little dramatic, but I think that it's kind of interesting. It's like, are we at 11 o'clock? Are we at 11:45? At midnight being the moment when fashion is nuked, and then we all wear jumpsuits.
Yeah.
Because I think that fundamentally, kind of the abstract of the article being, what is the state of fashion if like one of the biggest gigs is given to a person who, for lack of a better word, isn't a designer, isn't a pattern maker, isn't an atelier worker, isn't any of those things. They are a celebrity, an ageless celebrity. And maybe it's a little dramatic and over the top. I don't know. I wanted to bring it up because I think it's a funny subject, and I think that we'll do this segment more. Like when I get really pissed off with TikTok, and I'm like, "That's it, guys. I'm gonna throw out all my clothes." But I don't think we're at midnight yet.
No.
I think that the whole the appointment of a non-fashion designer as the creative director is kind of a product of working for a massive corporation and orchestrating massive projects, orchestrating huge runway shows, orchestrating marketing campaigns, that kind of thing. It doesn't matter if you can even hold a pair of scissors.
Right.
You need to be a person who is like a delegator.
Yeah.
I mean, I think what's worse, if anything, if we're getting closer to midnight, it's because those young boys on TikTok, they all are wearing their pants like they're like this, like they fold the pants.
Whoa,
down,
whoa.
like how girls used to wear sweatpants in middle school when I went to middle school.
This is news to me.
Time's running out.
Who's teaching these boys? What's happening to America's men?
It's like they'll take Dickies, and you know how Dickies on the inside of the waist, it says like Dickies, it's pants. They wear that part flipped out. And every time they post a video like that, the second hand moves forward, closer and closer to the intercontinental ballistic missiles firing.
So here's an interesting thing, and I think you're touching on it. It feels like some people in the industry are kind of flailing a bit. And I find that very interesting. When Pharrell got announced, there was one person, Yoon Ambush, on the Instagram. I don't know if you're familiar with Yoon or her brand Ambush.
I am familiar, yes.
But she was very hyped up about it, and she said something that really had some depth to it, I think. She said that fashion is a platform now. And that means that for the Pharrell appointment is good. And I find that interesting because Ambush, if anyone's paying attention, they're still metaverse brained. They're deep in the
Yeah.
metaverse. I don't know if it's sunk cost fallacy, throwing good money after bad, but they're still in it. So I think that's where her mind was when she posted that. But also, it does apply more generally that it is a launching pad for kind of a bunch of different things now that aren't necessarily clothes or even particularly clothing related.
Why should we even be selling clothes when we can be selling works of art that you can are digital?
Oh,
And if we the game, see, you play the game and you invest your real money into the monkeys, and
yeah.
those monkeys make clothes digitally.
Uh-huh.
And then you can cash out
Mhm.
after I have left to a country where I can't be extradited. So
Exactly.
that's how it works.
Yeah, and
Um,
definitely eventually those clothes that you've got, they will be able to mate with each other and
yeah,
yield other rarer
that
clothes.
gives you a bit, and those bits
Yeah,
combine into one byte, which creates one Dogecoin.
exactly.
Um, to actually say something that makes any relevant sense,
Mhm.
I think Ambush is a cool brand. I do like their pieces. I
Yeah.
know they have designed. I think they've designed for Matthew Williams at Givenchy.
Yes.
So like they've definitely done cross pollination before. Um, I think she would have been a cool appointment as well, and I think it's kind of
Sure.
in the same vein. But I mean, like, what do women know about fashion? So why would we
This
why would
is
we appoint them?
menswear.
Yeah, this is
Okay.
menswear, okay? Um, as an aside, almost
Mhm.
every job I've worked in fashion, I've been like the only man there.
Mm,
But
interesting.
but if you're at the top, it's gotta be a man
That's what I
because
was gonna say, though. I was gonna ask if you noticed as you go up rungs, it starts being less and less.
I guess it really depends. But at least I guess I've worked at places that don't suck as much.
That's good.
Or
That's something.
So in terms of the doomsday clock, I
Yeah,
think we were probably closer when everybody was insisting that the future of fashion is on a Roblox character.
100%.
So
100%. Like,
maybe we've
whew,
stepped away from the precipice.
thank God the Facebook Meta stock cratered and everyone abandoned that because it
Yeah.
was going down a dark path. Gucci bought land in the metaverse, the sandbox, the sand lot, whatever it was called.
Oh my
They
god.
bought land in it.
Oh, land ho. So like, and I would love. Maybe this is for our next episode. This is a teaser. I think we need to
Mhm.
talk about caring on the whole because
Yeah,
I think that ship is going down a cyclone of like a big swirling death trap.
wild times over
Um,
at Caring, the parent company of
of
Gucci and
Gooch
Balenciaga. Yeah,
and others, to
others.
name a few.
Yeah,
Well, Killian, we're kind of close to the edge
yeah.
of. You only pay me enough to talk for 1 hour,
1 hour on the dot.
and
Or is it actually kind of like therapy time? Like it's like 50-minute hours.
yeah, whatever. I mean, you'll get my bill. I'll
Yeah,
charge you,
yeah.
and
Oh, I know.
you'll have to make heads or tails of how I've decided to come up with those numbers.
Mhm.
But usually at the end of this podcast, we like to turn it to the audience,
Audience.
So everybody who is watching live, and we like to answer their questions or respond to their comments.
I would
Um,
love to start. Yeah, so get your chats coming, get your
yeah,
messages in.
so
Let's hang out
everybody watching, start typing right now.
right
And
this
if you're
very second.
listening to this late, you should have been here
Absolutely.
live.
And if you are listening to this later, join us next time, Thursdays at
Yes,
8 p.m. Eastern. I
same.
want to follow up with Blanks here.
Okay,
The Blanks who worked in the studio at Essence, LOL, says based in Montreal. If you ever come here, there's a good scene out here.
that's cool.
It is cool, but I was looking for some dirt. I was looking for some dish. Tell me the real deal. As Christian gets his accessories ready, what do you got
Yeah,
for us?
I realize I don't have the right accessory.
Oh no,
My hat is for Quebec City, not Montreal. I got excited.
I
Sorry.
thought you were grabbing a beret. I thought we were about to get
Oh,
some
that would have
beret
been
action up in
funnier.
here. Where's your
Next
beret,
time.
Christian?
I can get it, but I would have to be away from the
Ah,
pod
ah.
device. Um, I mean, Montreal seems cool as hell.
Yeah. Oh,
Rolled
I'm
waistband
actually
gifties.
legitimately thinking of visiting very, very soon. Me and Abby are
Yeah.
planning a Montreal visit.
Yeah. I think that so my plan is actually, and this sounds dumb, but it's gonna work. I'm going to go through Canada, through the Arctic Circle, the North Pole, into Russia, and then I
Mm-hmm.
can't be extradited after whatever crime I said I was going to commit. I don't even remember.
You know
Kyle
what?
Ackerman. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say on that note, I don't know why this has been on my mind consistently for a while now, but I would love to do like an investigative journalistic piece figuring out what brands are still exporting stuff to Russia, even after all the sanctions and stuff. Because I go on some of those Russian fashion, like the Russian essences of the world, and they're definitely still getting stock, Christian.
Oh, I'm sure. And I mean, like, I know that I've had audience members who live in Russia, and I mean, I feel I hope they're still chilling. You know, it's
Yeah.
not a reflection of the people.
Oh God, not at all.
I don't know about that Putin.
That poutine guy.
Yeah, that
Hey,
poutine guy. He must
poutine,
be
isn't that
from Quebec. He must be from
Montreal?
Montreal.
Putin, poutine. There's something
Yeah,
sketchy going on there.
connections. Yeah, coincidence. Kyle Ackerman, you had the comment on the screen for a second. He said that what rolled waistbands equal skater thoughts, and that's so true.
Fair.
It's like the age old adage about a boy skater pussy is a stussy.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I like
Let's
it.
try to answer. Well, you only got a few minutes left of me, so let's try to answer
Yeah.
some real ones.
What were some of your owned? What were some of your recent cops from the last big sale? The winter sales. They did just wrap up or are wrapping up
Sure.
as we speak.
Mm-hmm.
Did you grab anything? Are you a winter summer sale kind of guy?
Killian, I just told you a second ago, I am unemployed. I'm not copping. Okay.
Owned. You are the most insensitive viewer we've ever had. How dare you ask questions like this when Christian is struggling?
I'm
Okay.
struggling. What about you, though? Did you cop anything?
I actually, I don't think I grabbed anything too crazy because I've also been pulling back quite significantly. Oh, you know what? I do have one. I'll show one, and this will be eventually a video of this will be coming out, but I can preview it here if you want to keep them entertained.
Yeah. Look at me over here, guys. La 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 la. No, I'll actually talk to you guys. So, Brax Brixan asked essentially, do we agree that the LV position should have gone to a designer and they basically picked a celebrity? I think that being a designer gives you the skills, but I think that being a creative director today at such a huge brand requires that you do a lot more boss stuff. You are a delegator and you have to be more of a big picture guy. And I don't think it means that you have to literally know how to use a pair of scissors, because most of those people in those jobs, they're just like saying, you go there and you do this.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of the gist.
And I don't necessarily think it means that the sky is falling for fashion either, because Louis Vuitton is in this incredibly specific place that only maybe a half dozen other brands on earth are. So just because they're going one direction doesn't mean that that's the direction the entire industry is going, because they're in rarefied air and they're dealing with
Always, yeah.
a level of scale that almost nobody else is.
Yeah, like they would have appointed Jesus Christ if he would accept.
Sure.
Because it would create buzz, and everybody like, oh, Son of God. Ooh.
So circling back real quick to Owen's question, my maybe one pickup from the winter sale. I got this right here, which
Ooh.
is a Rick Owens Swamp God collaborative piece. So basically, they took like some dead stock Rick Owens stuff, a cashmere hoodie, and then like this Cupro flight shirt, and cut them up and stitched them together. So that was my pickup.
And then we just got one from Blank. So best pizza in New York City. There's a couple of options. If you want a classic like New York slice, I would say Joe's Pizza. Any of the locations. That's the same pizza place that Spider-Man worked for. Prince Street Pizza is whenever you go in that area in Soho, there's a massive line because it's a delicious slice. It's one of the best. And one that's like a chain, but I still think it's pretty good depending on it. Artichoke Pizza, I like a lot. But you know what's the real best answer? And it's not a slice, but the best pizza in New York, Roberta's. I mean, Rosie's. No, I mean, Roberta's. Final answer.
So Blanks, you asked the wrong question. You may have had a typo. I'm guessing what you meant to say is best pizza in New Haven, because that's the place where the best pizza actually is.
For all of our foreign audience members, that is absolutely not true. It's a funny joke. People are not rushing to Connecticut for pizza.
Listen, the Barstool guys definitely rushed to Connecticut for the pizza,
Sport.
okay?
And yeah, that tells you a lot. Listen, I'll start saying that they have the best pizza as soon as Barstool Sports picks up our podcast.
True. If they give us that call her daddy money,
yeah,
that contract, you know what I mean?
Call me Zaddy.
Mm.
Call me Sweaty, because that's what I look like.
Listen, okay, Owned, Killian does that Yale thing, huh? Ivy League style is primo timeless shit.
Yes.
Okay.
We can all agree with that. The New England look, the preppy style is eternal. And frankly, that's what's big next. So you better as well get on the bandwagon. Oh boy. What another exciting, fun episode where we mostly talked about Pharrell. But I loved it.
It was a good time. It was nice to just kind of roll on essentially a single topic and just kind of roll with it and go where it goes. I think we covered a lot of fun stuff, and I had a lot of fun chatting with everybody as well. Thank you all for being here.
Yeah, thank you everybody live right now. I really appreciate the engagement because like we do this for the fans and you guys are the real stars, and for everybody who's listening, I hope this is a bearable podcast, but only time will tell. But Killian, if I was crazy enough to want more of your content, where can I find it?
So you can find me on YouTube, Low Luxury, all one word. What about yourself? You're on the internet as well, aren't you?
I mean, hypothetically, you could find me at the Brave New Wear on YouTube. Check that out. There's a lot of videos up there. Some of them are good. Or you can find me on Instagram at Christian_Shabetta, which is my Instagram handle, and Brave New Wear on TikTok. I don't know what I'm gonna do with TikTok yet.
Same,
because I'm like, so should I just be a thought? You know, like is that the angle? Is that what you have to be?
So do you ever post reels?
I mean, it's the same thing, isn't it?
I was just gonna
say shit.
I've posted like one ever, and I don't know what it got like aggregated with, but somebody posted it somewhere and it just gets liked all day, every day.
Congrats, dude.
I don't know. I don't understand it.
What is it? Is it you like slipping on a banana peel or?
No. I wish it was that funny. It's a fit. I guess that's what goes viral, you know?
Are you kidding me? Are you crazy? You know, years ago, I was wearing this exact t-shirt and Heisna Abidi included it in its like best fits of the week.
Wow.
And that was my claim to fame. I was like, I did it. I have made it.
We got our own little fit zaddy over here.
Yeah, I'm the Fit Zaddy. Call me
Mhm.
Fit Zaddy.
All right, I think we're done. I think we're done, right?
Yeah, I think so. I'm done with this.
All right.
Guys, I'll catch you on the flip side. Please keep wearing clothes.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Peace.